1,000 Americans died in a senseless civil war. You buy the slaves and release them. How much would that cost compared to killing 600,000 Americans?
If you look at the history, you'll find out that Hamas was encouraged and really started by Israel.
Have you ever read about the reasons they attacked us? They attack us because we've been over there. We've been bombing Iraq for 10 years.
Are you suggesting we invited the 9/11 attacks, sir?
The Israelis are there. The United States is there. All these countries. China has nuclear weapons. Why wouldn't it be natural that they might want a weapon? There'd be, internationally, they'd be given more respect.
Tune in next week for more of the Ron Paul Chronicles. Okay. I mean, what do you say to that? Haaretz, Reuters, Jerusalem Post. I mean, you can type in Israel created Hamas into a search engine. You'll get UPI. Israel admits that. Anyone watching that in Israel knows that in 1973, as a counterbalance to Hezbollah, that's the Iranian-backed group, the Shiite-backed group, that Israel created Hamas. Ron Paul could have gone further. Israel staged terror attacks against itself, against its own public. Jerusalem Post, Haaretz, UPI. I mean, just type in, Israel created fake al-Qaeda, staged attacks. I mean, everything he said there was true. Every little piece was real, but they think you're stupid. They think you're idiots. They think you don't know about how the world works. Oh, Ron Paul's a kook. They had a clip from 20 years ago of him on TV being asked about Skull and Bones. And he says, yeah, it's a secret society at Yale. Well, you've had 4 presidents come from there? A bunch of Secretary of States? These are gangs. These are mafias. These are secret societies. The CFR Trilateral Commission openly called for world government, but you're not supposed to talk about it? I mean, we could dissect that clip. We won't have time to do it today. We'll do it maybe tomorrow night on the news and have it for Wednesday on the show, where we could go through and show you articles and documents and video clips. In fact, call Rob Doing here for me real quick, please. We can do part 1 tonight. The problem is every 5 seconds of the ad, I can back up what he's saying. But we could just at least... Hey, dude, come on in, bro. Have you seen this ad attacking Ron Paul?
I just heard it.
Okay, well, the point is, I know I wanted to get out of here early today. I wanted to shoot the show and tape it instead of doing it live. But obviously today or tomorrow, whatever, we need to show where they make fun of him about New World Order and show Herman. We already have the clips. Herman von Rompuy calling for New World Order, world government. We need to show, we can show, you know, British Prime Minister calling for it. We can show Herbert Walker, like show the clip and then go, oh, but here he is saying we're not supposed to talk about it. What's Twilight Zone is that they think their viewers are stupid. And then he's got the part, we'll just show 2 parts tonight. He's got the part where they go, oh my gosh, he thinks Israel founded Hamas. Just type in Israel created Hamas. You'll get UPI, Reuters, AP, but more importantly, they'll say, oh, well, that's anti-Semitic Reuters, you know, because we all know they're evil. Show them something like Jerusalem Post or Haaretz. Okay. I know it's in both those. And there's been Knesset debates where they gripe at people for creating it and all that. And then go one further. The headlines, Israel created fake al-Qaeda to attack themselves. Right. That's in the Israeli papers. Okay. That's why the Israelis are rioting over there. The media acts like all the Israelis want war and love the tyranny. They have a government staging stuff on them as well, and then funding terror groups or letting terrorists in as a pretext to keep control. Don't you see the paradigm, dude? Oh, yeah. I know you see it well. Okay, I'm ranting. All right, thank you so much. Good job. Unbelievable. Let's go back to the caller in Germany, then I promise I'm coming back with more of your calls here. Tim, finish up the point you were making before the last break.
Well, what I want to do rather is do an appeal to the U.S. citizens. Guys, preserve your rights. Defend the liberty you have. Currently, resistance and success against the globalists comes cheap. Worst that's going to happen to you is being ridiculed. It will be worse soon if you do not all kick into high gear. Call a politician each day or a representative. Inform anyone you find. Being ridiculed is probably the worst that's going to happen. But soon, it could be with NDAA, NDAA that looks like the enabling act in Germany. The Hitler was only elected, but he wasn't in power, and he wasn't the dictator. He wasn't elected dictator. He became one. He grabbed the power. Just the same stuff that could and likely is to be happening in the United States currently.
And you were saying you're seeing the same parallels in Germany?
The same. The media is completely synchronized.
You know, I had you hold so long. We're coming back to you. I'm going to give you 2 minutes on the other side. Then I'm going to get to everybody else's calls who's on the board. Then I'm getting into NDAA. I was up late last night, woke up in the middle of the night. I've got all these notes written up. Key report at 40 after exactly. I'm going to the NDAA report in 20 minutes. But your calls are straight ahead. Stay there, Tim.
Hi, this is Peter.
Babylon system is the vampire sucking the children.
Babylon system is the vampire.
Sucking the blood of the children day by day.
Sucking the children day by day.
All right, I'm going to get to the calls. I'm just really wound up here today, obviously. NDAA is now law, but they passed laws that black people weren't humans in this country. They passed laws in other countries that they could secretly arrest you and disappear you to a camp. And Tim in Germany was bringing up the Enabling Act. And yes, Hitler was, elected president. And then he blew up his own Reichstag building and had Kaiser Wilhelm sign over the chancellorship to him. I'm going from memory here. And then he unified the presidency and the chancellorship into the Fuhrer. And then it still took him from February 27th when he did that right through 4 or 5 years to really get dictator powers going. You live in Germany. Is that historically accurate, Tim?
Well, the dates were a little bit later. He was a chancellor. You were right on that. But what I can tell you is I'm only 40 years old, or becoming this year. But what I can tell you is the German, we always were taught in school. It was close to indoctrination, but hence, because of what happened in the Third Reich, I must say it was partly okay. But we were always taught, the question was, how could you allow that to happen? And think about yourselves, the listeners, what will you be asked in 15, 10, 5 years, if it's going to be fast, maybe less, or 20 years? What are your children, what are your grandchildren going to ask you? What did you do back then? What did you do to prevent this from happening that could be happening? And that these people are madmen. You can see they bioengineering viruses. They genetically modify stuff that shouldn't be genetically modified. And they could bring anything up on us this year because they seem to be prone on 2012 as a year of change for them. And I don't say it is likely, but everybody should be prepared for everything globally. They could just promote on CNN that the aliens have contacted us and tried to extort us, and because of that they could release the flu. They could do anything. These are madmen. But
exactly, because they're able to put out a big hoax, have all their corporate liars put out a unified fraud, and then you're always battling the fraud, even though you prove it a lie later. It's just accepted as the pretext. God bless you. I appreciate your call. Here's a breakdown from the Future of Freedom Foundation. In the presidential election held March 13th, 1932, there were 4 candidates: the incumbent, Field Marshal Paul von Hindenburg, Hitler, and 2 minor candidates, Ernst Thielmann and Theodor Duesenberg. The results were Hindenburg 49.6, Hitler 30.1, and then it goes from there. At the risk of belaboring the obvious, almost 70% of German people voted against Hitler, causing his supporter Joseph Goebbels, who later became Hitler's Minister of Propaganda, to lament in his journal, "We're beaten, terrible outlook, party circles badly depressed and dejected." Since Hindenburg had not received a majority of the vote, however, a runoff election had to be held among the 3 top getters. On April 19th, 1932, the runoff results were Hindenburg 53, Hitler 36, Thielmann 10.2. And then it just goes into how it was like parliamentary and they shared power, and then they had the Reichstag fire, and then Hitler got more power out of that. That was basically right. Yeah. And it goes over all of it. Hitler's rise to power and breaks it all down. And how he turned the judiciary into a tyranny. Okay, let's go back to your calls here. Let's talk to Carol in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding.
Happy New Year, Alex.
Thank you. You too.
I wanted to tell you about one thing that just came up on my radar and ask you about another one.
Okay.
I went out last week, and all of a sudden, within a 5-mile radius, we got 3 of these creepy billboards, Don't Lie for the Other Guy. It's a program between the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and National Shooting Sports Foundation. You get 10 years in jail if you help somebody get a gun who shouldn't get one.
Yeah, what they're doing is teaching people, they sell it like don't give a felon a gun or don't do a straw purchase, but now they're hyping it that if you give your grandson a gun or if you buy your wife a gun or you buy your dad a gun, I mean, my dad's given me guns, I've given him guns, that's somehow illegal, so the juries will send you to jail. They call it a straw purchase. It isn't really one, but I've seen them send people to prison for giving their grandson a gun. So, yes, I've seen the creepy tattletale billboards going up everywhere.
Came up with all these laws that any crime with a gun, you get 5 years, but help somebody get that gun, you get 10. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about, there's this Thrive movement, and it's incredibly well-funded. And it's run by Foster Gamble of the Procter Gamble family. The guest list in this movie reads like your guest list, but my spidey senses are telling me this is, the controlled opposition kind of thing.
Sure, it's talking about a new economy and a new system. The globalists want to offer solutions to what they've done. Stay there.
We're on the march.
Okay, I almost got Rob Dew, Aaron Dykes, and Rob Jacobson in here in studio because we get tons of emails about the Thrive movie and the Thrive movement. And they've watched the film and basically gave me their synopsis, but I want to watch it before I pass judgment. I know it has the air of the Procter & Gamble fortune in it, but people always have a chance to wake up and turn things around. It has Catherine Austin Fitts and other, by the way, she's on the nightly news tonight, other good people, Bill Still, who's put out The Money Masters, and also The Secret of Oz. And so as we awaken people, there's going to be good guys from the power structure that come out. Rob and Aaron's breakdown is that it's basically Zeitgeist 2.0, that they admit the problems, they admit the world government. Well, it's out in the open now. You can't not admit it. But then it gets into UFOs, crop circles, which kind of discredits it, and then kind of gives some new agey solutions. You see, they tried to deny all this was going on, but the problem with Zeitgeist is it sells a technocratic computer, who programs it, that decides who gets what resources. And you live in these basically plastic cities. I mean, I can't think of a more hellish system. And if you've studied history, you know the communists back in the 20s and stuff always advertised their ideas with airships and spaceships and super science, and it's going to be this wonderful new world. And that's how they always advertise it. I mean, even the Economist magazine, when they're selling Technocracy, says, well, the communists sold it as a science fiction Technocracy, and, it didn't go too well, but our Technocracy is going to do a really good job because, the central bankers want to fix everything. So what's happening is there's a huge awakening taking place. And so I think it's a mix of both. I have to see it before I can comment. But 3 crew members have seen it, who are all smart people, and they basically say the same thing. I mean, I don't think people are bad for being in it, but Carol, I have to not pass judgment at this point because I haven't seen it. But briefly, give us your take on it.
Well, shoot, you got Gerald Celente and David Icke. I mean, it's a heck of a guest list. But I think the solutions are soft core. I think they're play into the hands of, global controlled organizations, Sierra Club and, that kind of...
Oh, it's like, quote, fix the environment, everything's